Hey Carol, I thought I'd just make this quick video where I can kind of step you through a couple of things that you can do to help improve the layout of this article. So, on first impressions, it's a great article. The content's fantastic, but when you look through it, it probably doesn't lay out the best and probably doesn't look as good as other blog articles that are out there on the internet at the moment. The good news is that this is pretty easily fixed. It's just a couple of layout things, or we can make the article look $1 million. So the big thing with articles is having the content that's good. And once you've got the good content, which is fantastic, now we just need to make it look and feel a little bit better, so it's a lot easier for people to read. So I'm going to jump over into the back end of the website now. I've created a duplicate post to this, and I'm going to make a couple of changes, and then we'll compare the two at the end, and I'll step you through the changes that I've made. Okay, so we're over in the back end now. The first thing that kind of jumped out to me when I was reading through it is these bullet points here. And so, normally I wouldn't lay it out with bullet points. What I'd do instead is I'd have a heading. So up here, instead of this bullet point, I might get rid of that, and we might just make this a heading. So what we can do is we can just make that a new line there, and then we can add a heading here. So we might make this a heading 3. Then I might just go down and add the content again. Just so as it reads nicely. And so having these headings, it kind of helps to break up the article a little bit. People love list articles, so 5 things to get you a benefit or whatever the article is. So having these headings is good. It lets people kind of, if they want to skim read it, they can skim read it and they can still get the gist of the article. But it also just helps to break it up a little bit. And the other thing you've got is kind of big chunks of content here. So what we'd do is we'd like to break them up a little bit. If you're reading a newspaper or something like that, most of the articles, they've got kind of 1 to 2 sentence paragraphs, so they have lots of white space. And the reason for this is it just makes it a lot easier for people to read and follow along. If they can just read 1 or 2 sentences and then there's a gap, it's easier for their eyes to navigate the text rather than reading a big long paragraph. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and edit it myself, and then I'll cut to the end and I'll jump through everything that I've done. I'm going to break the content up a little bit, add some headings in. And the other thing I might do is I'm going to kind of reposition these images. So instead of being aligned to the right and that, maybe I'll change them a little bit. I'll get some bigger images and just align them in the center. So as the whole article kind of scrolls and looks a whole lot nicer that way. Okay, so I've made some changes. I've added some headings in here, as you can see throughout the post. I've increased the size of some of the images. Some of the images I've actually changed to bigger images because they were just too small to begin with. And then I've also broken up the paragraphs a little bit so as they flow a little bit better. So I'm going to preview the article now, and we'll see what the finished product looks like. Okay, so you can see it flows a lot nicer. The images are just one after the other so people can read. It's kind of like a Facebook stream. It just flows up one after the other. They don't have to look left and right between text and images. The headings are there too, so as people can kind of skim through it and get an idea of what the article's about without having to actually read in depth if they don't want to go into that much detail. And so yeah, it just flows a whole lot nicer with the bigger images centered in the middle, and also just breaking up the paragraphs a bit there makes it a lot easier for people to read. So that's the one that we've just edited. We spent about 5-10 minutes just going through and doing that. We'll just compare that back to the original one. So the original one here is what we've done is we've gotten rid of the bullet points, we've broken up these paragraphs, and then we've just made these images bigger and just aligned them in the middle. So there wasn't much that we needed to do here, but you can see 5 minutes of tweaking has changed the end product of this article to something that's much nicer and flows a whole lot better. So here's the finished product again. And obviously there's a lot more things that we can do to this article. You could add different images, different headings, but this is just an idea of what you can do to help make a blog post that doesn't look as appealing, make it look a whole lot nicer. So I hope this has helped, and I'll speak to you soon.